Goeiedag for my viewers. This is Shirley with Spirit of Matter, and this is the moon day that turns into a Venus night and Venus hour. So this is Venus. Moon in the 11th house in Aquarius, 9 degrees. And the Venus is in the 5th house, 19 degrees Leo. So Venus is traveling in the 5th right now. The ascendant is ruled by Mars, which is in the 7th house in 18 degrees. And the midheaven is ruled by Saturn, which is in the 12th house. But this episode is actually coming to discuss the upcoming final Venus square Uranus for this cycle. For this opening cycle. Okay, they will have the closing square, but right now as Venus opens up from Uranus, she was retrograde and now she's going back directly on Uranus. And so this square that is coming to us around the 28, 29, depending on where you are in the world, is actually accentuating on a bit of a crisis between the personal planet Venus, that is connection, the color green, cars, transportation, food, sensuality, music, and all things Venusian, sisterhood, not motherhood, sisterhood, fertility in the sense of the joy of the process of procreation, and women. So this Venus is coming into connection with Uranus that's already been in Taurus since 2018, around 2018. And Uranus is an outer planet. It's moving slowly. It's about 7 years in each sign. So even a small encounter of Urano-Venus, okay, of outer planet to inner planet, can serve as a liberation vehicle, depending on the aspect. Now we're addressing the square, which is a bit of a crisis. But it's a liberation. It can be a very short encounter that has a longer term impact, and eventually favorably. So the square. Okay, so Uranus, first of all, it rules the Kundalini energy, it rules space, it rules technology on a mass scale, it rules revolution and innovation at the same time, it rules radicalism, and therefore it has a bit of a silly walk around the sky. So if you think about Uranus, you want to think about the silly walk sketch with Monty Python. This is Uranus, okay? It's the silly walk, and that means that our life is being liberated. The way we walk is being liberated. The way we move in the world is being liberated. The way energy moves in the body is liberated, and we ungunk all the energy blocks that we have. And with Taurus is around the throat chakra, but also around the second sex chakra. So we are basically unclenching our butt cheek and releasing our voices with Uranus, plus a ton of other things that are both contributing to that and a side effect to that. So whatever needs to happen will happen so that we will have this energy liberation. And so the square aspect is an aspect of friction. Okay, unlike the sextile or even the 30 degrees or the trine, this square there is tension, but it's not like the opposition. I see you, you see me. It's that you're sitting in a certain position. You know, when you look straight, and there's something that's in your vision. It's not what you're looking at, but it kind of bothers you with focusing forward. That's the square. Okay, it's something that it doesn't block your vision, but it's just like that annoying kid in the background that you don't understand, how to deal with that, because these planets meet in a square, and this square is a crisis. Okay, the squares and opposition can both be. It's a crisis that happens. Okay, So you may feel unnerved. You remember when I said if you can save, allocate money because Venus is assets, so that you can suddenly travel, suddenly buy something sweet. You will not be sleeping a lot. If you're personally affected by this or in any way sensitive to astrology, which is probably the reason why you're watching my videos. But then the underlying cause, the underlying meaning of it is just certain energy block to our speech, to our performance, if it's Venus in Leo, to our throat chakra, which is connected to the sex chakra and to all the chakras in the body, to our flow of energy, liberation, sensuality, even what we enjoy in life, okay, sense of connection and connectedness. And it can be a certain break in communication, break in connection. You know, when it's a crisis, and this is why with Uranus, when it is a crisis, what needs, you sever ties with whatever is needed. Okay, it just switches off. Okay, suddenly, for no reason. It's like, it seems to be like for no reason. It's like sparks fly, sparks die. Okay, sparks fly, sparks die, and it's very much like the liberation of the Kundalini energy needs to be. And then you go on a trajectory. You're doing something you're meant to be doing. Uranus facilitated that. But when it is a crisis, then it feels like a very hidden gift in the beginning. Okay, something breaks down. Here, something falls apart to come together. If you remember the Uranus-Saturn square, okay, and what it meant in your life, you probably remember a lot of time where the chaos just had to happen for a new order to form. Okay, and I want to talk about like an anecdote from that will explain to you what's about to happen in a minute scale with Venus, which is a way faster moving planet. So during the Uranus-Saturn, I was supposed to treat my teeth and just have a scheduled check. I couldn't schedule it, and then when I had to pay, I discovered that the way that I pay, just because of the way that I pay monthly and not having like an installment, they wouldn't accept it, and so I was exposed to stuff to do with credit, to stuff to do with the Krankenkasse, the HMO, and then I learned about the fluoride. Okay, I finally understood what Feynman talked about with the fluoride, and I talked about it in another video. And then just this week, I realized that when you go to, basically when you go for a teeth checkup, they can wound you, and that can increase the danger to have a heart issue. And one of the people that I know that dealt with the issue of heart and the connection to the teeth was Og, and I talked about that. And when I talked about beta blockers, that's the person I learned to make, fermented garlic and honey from after he died. Okay, it's just the video was there, and so I looked at, okay, so how do you deal with that? It's just like it's been there. It's like it's baking soda, but without lemon. Lemon harms the enamel. Baking soda doesn't. So it's like just freaking use baking soda, and then you have to tend to the water, which is still ongoing, and now Saturn is in Pisces. But you see, the whole time, the whole 2 years, literally, I was trying to tend to the things that will help me schedule just a regular checkup at the dentist to clear my tartar, just so that I won't have too much buildup of tartar, and all of that being removed, while eventually the solution is easy. Okay? The solution is you need to care for the water, which is not easy. It's another cycle, but Uranus-Saturn, eventually it was a crisis, and the crisis was that the way that I was paying was not sufficient to the HMO. But if I would make the way that they want, then there would be problems with the bank, and they would make it as if I don't have the money there, because they would take it later, and it would harm my credit score. Okay, which I was trying to recover, because Saturn also rules a credit score. And then I was in exile. Then I came back. Then one of the dentists, they were trying to tend to my teeth, but they were harming my gums. Okay, So I started, of course, I didn't go there for a full checkup. It's like all these things building up one on the other, one on the other. It seems like I lost, like, my God, I just went into my teeth. What the heck is going on? We eventually, everything fell apart just to see that the solution is very simple. We still need to tend to that fluoride issue. And that's not simple, but we can also just use baking soda. Okay? It's like baking soda, so it won't build up, and so you have less. And by the way, I need to change my teeth brush because I just wounded my gums by brushing too vehemently. So this is not somebody else to blame, it's me. I need to learn how to do this correctly. But this was it. Okay, it was 2 years of this square and allowing things to go messy for a new order to come in. It's like, and eventually the solution is simple. It's like, tend to the water, tend to your nutrition, okay, which is still an ongoing phase, and you don't have to go to the dentist. You just make sure you have some baking soda, and it's not harming your enamel, and even dentists, like, if you're looking for the like confirmation of medicine, then dentists say it's not harmful to the enamel. Or salt washes, which is also good for your teeth. And so it took me 2 years to go and check and see and what's good, what's not good, what's going on. Yes, fluoride, not fluoride. Like, I just want to tend to my teeth in the best way. And I was thinking about oil pulling, but now it's difficult to get oil that is good for you because it's being fake. And this is the Uranus, that was the Uranus Saturn. Saturn rules teeth. Uranus rules the revolution. Okay, because I was scheduling myself to just go to a medical checkup that would eventually end up either bruising my gum or keeping me with the fluoride or not really tending to the heart of the issue, which is literally also the heart. And so while I was releasing myself from beta blockers, I could easily end up with like tartar getting into, or infection getting into my gums, into my blood flow, into my heart, and boom, which happens to people. Okay? And so while I was thinking, what the heck is going on? Why is everything so messy? Why can't I just have a checkup at the dentist and remove my tartar? It's not a big buildup. It's not a big deal. And I realized that, oh my God. Okay? So now we're having a mini set of it. But this mini set is also important because Venus was retrograde with Uranus. Okay, she went direct squaring Uranus, then retrograde with Uranus. Now she's going direct again, squaring Uranus again. And so what falls apart at this time, which is going to feel like your nervous system anyway, what falls apart at this time is so that something better can build. Okay, this is based on simplicity and an efficient, something that really efficiently works for you. Whether it's a relationship with your finances, any of that sort. Okay, something is falling apart with this crisis situation, so that it's being replenished with something way better. And what's being released here through this crisis, because the end goal of the square is an angle where it steers up a certain thing that you need to give up on, change, liberate, or not give up on. Okay, and with the square, the angle in which it meets, it's kind of like it's coming from your blind eye into vision, but now it's just this annoying thing that you think you just need to wipe out of the screen. But you actually don't. Okay, and then eventually it will go to trine, as now, as now, Saturn is approaching to the sextile, to the closing sextile with Uranus. We're slowly approaching to the closing sextile with Uranus. But as you can see, it's kind of like, right now it's the opening square. So we went from the sextile. So imagine, you go from the blind spot. Venus, okay, you're dating someone. Okay? At first they begin, you meet them, conjunction. Okay? You meet them, you're not really sure, and you feel like them, but you still don't understand what it's about. Okay? Then Venus goes to the okay? sparks fly. My God, why am I so attracted? Oh my God, oh this person, oh my God, where did they even come from? And then it's like, oh no, 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 don't give me that. No, I've heard it, I don't mean. Which is a state where now you can accept, seeing it from that angle. Oh, from that angle, oh, that's clear. Oh, that makes sense. Oh, I'm so like glad that we didn't like totally give it up or whatnot. So going through the square once, twice, thrice means that we are releasing some gunk, okay, that take 3 times over to tend to mush away, you know, or to liberate so that you can facilitate action. That's why our nervous system is problematic, because this is also dealing with relation here and with acids and with, like many things that, you got to think, where is Leo in your chart? Where is Taurus in your chart? Okay. For example, can I make money out of art? How can I make money out of art? Okay. And the first, I see, for example, a good friend of mine is dealing with that. She's liberating the world from the wounds of psychiatry, and she's having great achievements. She works at a pizza place. And she's an artist. She's a creatress. When I tell her, well, the living, it's not going to happen. It's not this. Like, and I'm like, but look what you are already doing. It's competition, and people are ending in hospitals, which is true. They're being hospitalized because of the competition, not because they're not brilliant, but because of the violence that they endure. And they're like, but you're tending to that. You're tending to that. And so those things take a bit of a once, twice, blocked out. Now I can move on to the trine. And relationship that you're having, and this relationship, let's say you said something as a red line, as a deal breaker. Who had, except for traveling, they really did not have hobbies together. Okay, he liked going to like big popular days, and she liked painting, and it's like they really did not have, other than traveling, anything in common. But that was also the joy of it. Okay, and so you could be this person, and you meet a nice person, and they're like, they don't have, like, you guys like traveling, but that's the only thing that you like. They like football, you like painting, they like this, you like that. And you think that it's like, how can we have a life together? We don't have the same hobbies. And with the squares, kind of like, comes once, comes twice, comes twice, comes thrice. And it's kind of like you may be dating someone with whom you have a lot of things in common. Okay, dating someone else, you have a lot of things in common, but they don't like traveling. Okay? And then you find out that all those things that you like, you can do yourself. Like, paint is with yourself, to cook is with yourself, to bake is with yourself. But that person that can be a ride or die with, that was the person that you were dating. Boom, comes the third. Okay? And that's what we can have in a relationship. Like, you can have all of that with this person, but you're missing that. Oh, damn, that thing which I thought was a deal breaker is not a deal breaker at all. It's like, oh, we only have that one thing that we need, plus we have all those other things that not only allow us space in the relationship, they actually maintain the relationship. So the difference is maintain the relationship, and not just the things that we like doing that are the same. Okay? You could be, if that's anywhere around like your 7th, it can be exactly that story that you experience. So we talked about labor, creativity. Let's talk about assets. You said to yourself, I'm never going to invest in, I don't know, give me something Venusian to invest in. I'm never going to let's say purchases, okay? You say, I don't like makeup. I'm never going to invest in makeup. I'm never going to this. I'm never going to that. And after that, I can't get up in the morning. Like when I sleep at night, ain't nothing stop me. I'm not taking our makeup off. And comes once, you're like, I kind of like this color. I'd really like to add this color to my face. Okay? Comes twice, you're kind of like, oh, damn, if I invest in like inclusive skin makeup and like build a company over it, then I really should look into makeup to know what I'm doing, to sense that, to feel that, because there's a blue ocean for inclusive makeup. Okay? Comes thrice, oh shit, I'm an astrologer, of course I'm going to use makeup. So like the eyes is the luminaries, Venus is makeup, you just I got my sun in the Venus sign, why won't I wear like green eyeshadow or something like that? And now you're like, boom, you found the spot where you can integrate it, and then you build up to the trine where it actually sets in effortlessly. You probably won't even feel that it's already set in. Okay? So it can be something as simple as buying makeup or investing in a certain venue and so on and so forth. And it can also be, because it is Uranus, can also be a certain sort of a revolution. It's like, I'm not an agenda person. I'm not this. Before the Me Too, I had people saying to me, because I was volunteering for an apartment. So people saying, oh, she's a very... she's a person that cares about the value. She's a very like caring person for the society. I'm like, what the fuck are they talking about? I didn't notice nothing. Okay, I just spoke my mind. Then came Me Too, and it was like, okay, I guess I am all these things that they're saying. So it can be something like that. Okay, comes the first, you're like, well, that thing needs to be changed. You're like, oh, you're a feminist. You're like, do I have a choice? I'm also a woman. And comes the second, and you're like, I think there's a better way to do this. There's a better way to... No, I'm not giving up saying that. Comes the third, and you're like, hashtag Me Too, that happened to me in blah, blah, blah. That was the name of blah, 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 and so on and so forth. So that, and this is going to be something like either a Venusian thing, like women rights, or trade, fair trade, or land for people, or even fertility and fertility rights, or pregnancy planning, or something like this, because Venus is the enjoying of sensuality, regardless of the produce. Okay, le bébé. So it can be something like that. If it's an agenda, okay, or maybe like building a permaculture, farm or something like this, then it can be like, comes once, comes twice, you do it. It's like, and do it is basically voicing that vehemently. Like, no, I'm not giving that up. Okay? And Uranus is radicalizing. It can also mean that a certain agenda that you've had is radically changing, okay, towards a certain direction. And this is where there is a crisis, okay, it comes with friction. There's a friction. Somebody says something and it triggers you. Somebody does something and it triggers you. Let me just get at the angle at where Uranus is going to about to leave the 22nd degree. No, it's leaving 20th of October. Pardon? So Uranus, no need to check even. Uranus is still going to be on the 22nd degree. And so 22nd degree can do with assassination, can do with to kill and be killed. So maybe rights of women that were in life-risking situations. It doesn't mean that you're going to find yourself in this situation. It might be activists towards this situation. It might be connecting things that is a radical, okay? For example, one of the things that I noticed is the way that a person that was working in Netherlands, Peter A. de Vries, that was working for many, many years to tend to unresolved murder cases, also of people solitary that nobody tended to, and some of them were women. And eventually, the way that he was assassinated is the police set him an ultimatum. You either get so much security that you can't keep a phone with you, or you get no security. Okay, and it's not a Dutch thing; it's a global thing. Okay, everybody has their own way around this, but this is a global thing. And so the way that he was assassinated is not just the way that he was, but actually this is the ultimatum that is given to every person or woman that escapes violence. Okay, it's like either you get into a shelter and you cannot keep your phone, and you cannot this and you cannot that, you cannot communicate with the outside world. If somebody kills you there, nobody's gonna know. Who's gonna know? Or you get no security. Sleep in the street. Sleep in the street. Fine. With your child and the doggy. Okay? So the recast was like, oh, basically the strategy that the police uses is the strategy of why the women were killed at first. Okay, so they used it also on the person who tended to solve these murder cases. Okay, and you can just express yourself like me in the way that I express that, or whatever you find that you're going to do with that. But again, you really need to see what was happening with this Uranus in previous degrees and in previous times. Okay, so you need to go back to when Venus was going direct and then retrograde. Okay, and when she hits like the final hit on the square, that is going to be again attached to that crisis that finally liberates, but it's going to be a friction. Okay, it's going to be a friction. It can be an argument, it can be a eureka, and with the 22nd degree, it's touching life and death. Okay, it doesn't mean that anybody is going to die. On the mundane level, yes, it's not a pleasant day. Okay, most people don't do astrological magic and so on and so forth. We raise awareness, but on a mundane level, it's like, but if you ask what is going to be for you personally, so, and also Uranus has a silly walk, so intention goes a long way, and yet planning like you planned with Saturn does not always. One of the things that I told you is like for the 28th, the 29th, when I did the forecast, I said, please, if you can, allocate resources. You're going to need them. You're not going to be sleeping much. And it's like if you can, plan for it. Lo and behold, my own income came before the holiday. We had a new year, the Jewish New Year. And then we had another holiday, the Fast of Kippur. And then I said, well, I'm going to need the stuff for the 28th. And I even did so much as physically walking to people in the mall and offering them a reading for loading my my ticket, my public transportation ticket or stuff like that. And it even worked a bit. But still, I had some unexpected expenses. So I was trying to plan for this transit, and still I came up, I don't regret what I did, but still I came up with this unexpected thing. So it's very difficult to plan for Uranus. If you didn't manage, if you said, oh, I know, Shirley said I should not spend money, not spend this, and you're like, oh, I'm coming to this transit and it didn't work for me, don't blame yourself, okay? It's falling apart for something even better to come. And these crises, they liberate you from the energy level. Okay, it's an energy thing that's happening in your body, that's happening in your soul. Doesn't matter what your cosmology is, okay? Cosmology could be that there's, spirits that tend to that, and this is why it happens. Absolutely, I respect it, and I even believe in that. But also what's happening on a more three-dimensional, your energy levels are changing. There's blockages in your body that are being resolved, and here this purging, this boobing out. It's kind of like it's kind of like you press something and then the pressure is kind of explosive. You could explode on somebody, You could be doing that, or you could suddenly cut connection or cut communication. That can also be the case with those, and and allow it to take place. Okay, eventually, but it's liberating in a way that is less harmonious, less pleasant than where we have the sextile or the trine. Okay, so this is one of the things that I really wanted you to keep in mind. And again, I gave the example of the teeth where I was looking all over. It was with Saturn, which is longer. It's like I was looking all over for the solution, where the solution was right, you know, very cheap and very accessible, more so than I ever believed, and way more healthy than what is offered by, I don't know, sometimes thousands of dollars, depending on where you at. And so with Venus, you could kind of have some sort of a similar thing. You have a resistance to something, then poof, that is being eased out. But at first, it's going to seem like, with the square, it's going to seem like you're losing something. It's going to seem like something is going, like it's going down, like, like Texas. It's going down in a sense like something's falling apart. And at first, you're like, why? Why? Like, what's going on? Or this is not fair. Okay, Venus is also about fairness and equity. It's like, this is not fair. That's happening. This is so unfair. And that's how it seems like. But Uranus is about to liberate your idea of fairness, because it will show you another aspect to look at things. But there's going to be this sense of, oh, damn. Like, why did it need to happen? Like, why do these things happen? Why did it need to happen? So that you change your point of view. Okay, it's just an uncomfortable angle to revolutionize your values. Okay, so and again, it triggers the nervous system. You could be not sleeping much. You could be wanting to spend more money. And eventually it can be just about that. Okay, maybe you have been giving or receiving advice of save your pennies, be planned with your expenses, or whatever value perceive, invest in this, and so on and so forth. Then comes a bit of crisis, and then you could be dealing with a loss, even depending on the houses, or volatility of the markets, or you suddenly spend that much. Like, you have a breakup, now you want to eat, chocolate, and so on and so forth. And then you look at things basically more realistically and more authentically to your own flow, to your own love nature, and to your own connection nature and sensuality nature. Okay, so also, like I said, because Uranus is slow moving and Venus is moving faster, I read a tweet that says, what would be the synastry of a situationship? It's kind of like you met a person for like 5 seconds and you still can't get over it after 2 years. A slow moving planet meets a personal planet. Okay, because the personal planet, you just go on. You just had an encounter. But the slow moving planet, it takes time to process, and you're already dealing with a societal change. Okay, Venus, Uranus are so liable to have to be these affairs, especially the squares. Okay, these affairs, these intense affairs, there's that, and the way we look at those things. And then, for example, it can be like 2 minutes flare, and then like, you're disappointed, it's not what I expected, it's not what I did, it's not what I that. And then you maybe even think, okay, how come this, old age person? What was he looking for with a younger person? Then you learn astrology after a couple of years, and Uranus comes to the place when Venus was, and you're like, oh, their seventh house is ruled by Saturn. They only have this chance with way younger people, or that they're going to have a very restrictive, kind of like a Saturnian restrictive connection. It's like, oh, basically this is the person who would anyway be either with a very older person or a very younger person, because Uranus is only going to go and trigger the seventh once in 28 years. So it's like, oh, so this is an inherent structural problem that they deal with. It's not necessarily they want it to be abusive, and it's going to take a while, even a couple of years, for you to get that. And that thing's kind of like it's going to bug you. It's like, what was it that they didn't like there? Was it the age gap? Was it a power inequality? Was it a structural thinking? Was it the this? Was it the that? Comes Uranus and it liberates your worldview into something that is not the way people dealt with that before. So it's not exactly the way we dealt with that in older days, but it's also not the way modern people deal with that. It's just kind of building up from here and from there and creating something new. That's the Uranus silly walk. So if it's in any way relational, you could be having, and you look, if you were a non-commitment person with Uranus, you can actually fall into commitment, but the commitment that maybe has more space, or you're doing something astrological together, and you're building up on that, okay? So it can be like, oh, I have a new look, and then you have remediation. So like, oh, actually I see that monogamy is good for me, but I need that space. That I was looking in non-monogamy and actually found a lot of multiple monogamous relationships all at once. So the freedom that I wanted ended up with having 5, there is this relationship going, conversations in a week, except for one, instead of one. There's a lot of disillusionment. Or if you were this, kind of monogamous person, and I wanted this and I wanted that, you could find that, oh, with this person I have, Pluto, Neptune trines my Venus, but Pluto is opposing it. But then there's this other person with the Pluto actually trining my Venus, and when I'm with these people, they kind of balance each other out, and we have a nice triad. And it's like, oh, I didn't consider that I actually need 2 people in my life, or actually need, more than one person in my life, because whenever I'm going to have this, Pluto good aspect, it's going to be with the Neptune hard aspect. I'm going to need another person to have the Neptune good aspect, and they will have the Pluto hard aspect, so that us 3 will form something together. If I liberate my mindset, then it's easier for me to attract people who think the same, okay? And then you find out that, previously you thought, oh, this is unequal, this is not fair, this is a this is a that. And it's kind of like, oh, we can have like me and 2 men, and then, and then they would want to have another woman, and it would be that tribe. So we're going to have this dynamic balance going on. And you're like, oh, damn, that's way more compatible for me than monogamy, okay? And so comes the square, or comes the Uranus-Venus transit, or in general Uranus and Taurus, which is a Venus sign, and you're like, oh, I was looking for monogamy all my life, but I see what actually works for me is those things that they call the drama triangle, but for us it's no drama, we're just balancing each other out. Or you could be this person and say, I'm never going to be committed with one person, I need more, I need to love whoever I want, I need to this, I need to that. And then you realize you just needed to liberate the structure of your relationship or something like that. And when you do, you can be with one person. It's like, even you prefer that. And that's the way it rolls. So this is relationships. This can also be properties, can also be housing. This can also be cars or driving license. And all those things that you're like, not doing this, not doing that, not doing this, boom, going for it. Anything that you're sitting on the fence on that is in any way related to Taurus or Venus, you're not going to be sitting on the fence once this transit is activated. So by now we are just a couple of days before this transit. Okay, we are on the 25th, and this comes on the 29th. Okay, we're on the 25th, this comes on the 29th. So we really are just like 4 days before that. By now, some of this is prosecting, some of this is coming. You know, Venus is already 9 degrees. It's already in orb. And so you might be having ideas or taking from the past, bringing into the future, and kind of like, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to do that. And you might even start taking action on it. So this is something, you know, and think about those things you say, I'm never going to do that. Probably that's, you know, Uranus, poof, okay? I'm never gonna, poof, that's what you're probably heading to do. So, that is, you know, one of the things that I have was like a kind of Uranus. I remember I was doing the Freeze Court Van Hout chart, and then I said, well, there's the Ajax, and I'm not bringing up that chart. The next morning I brought that chart and I analyzed it, and I was like, oh shit, like there are actually aspects here that are very favorable. We were just emasculating each other because our Marses was squaring, and that gave me a whole new eureka to this whole thing that happened 8 years ago. So that was like an actual, you know, full-blown Me Too drama. So that was like, whew, I wasn't expecting to see that data. With this Uranus Venus, you're gonna say, well, I'm not doing that. Poof, the next day you're doing that. Okay, and that's why it can be so unnerving, because it touches on our values. Okay, there's something that you value, and you're gonna meet that value in an unexpected way, or you're gonna revolutionize this value. Okay. So this is what I have to say about this. I think we still have some minutes with Venus, so I can post it. Yeah, oh, 25. Yeah, we only have 1 minute, and then it's going to be Mercury. But Mercury is also okay, so I'm just going to post